many of you aren't thinking about what's going on in the world around you. Because you're focused on my speech, of course. But I can tell you, by the time that this class started, to the time it ends, at least 3 children will lose their lives to accidental shootings. According to the Children's Defense Fund, 1 child or teen died or was injured every 30 minutes from guns in the year of 2010. By the time you finish that first episode of Fuller House, 1 child will lose their life to guns. If you're like me and binge-watched all 13 episodes in one day, that's 13 lives lost tragically to accidental shootings. I know many of you know and understand the potential dangers that come along with guns. According to the class survey, half of you said that you currently have at least 1 gun in your house right now. How many of you have thought about where that gun is in the past 30 minutes? Many of you have younger siblings who are still at home, cousins, nieces, nephews, or children of your own. Are you sure that they're safe from these guns? In order for you to better understand and protect these loved ones, I want to emphasize the importance of keeping guns locked away and out of the hands of children by sharing my tragic story of how my brother accidentally took his own life with a gun.
Oh my.
So I grew up in a military family, so guns were very much a part of everyday life. Guns and gun safety were taught regularly and cautiously to me and my siblings. My father, being the expert in the military, always supervised when we were using the guns. And because of this lifestyle, my little brother was exposed to guns early on. However, he was never allowed to touch or fire them. In my family, it was kind of an understood rule that your age had to be at least in the double digits before you could fire a gun. So in my family, guns were seen as more of a hobby and less of a weapon. At the age of 8, my little brother accidentally took his own life from playing with a gun unsupervised. The guns that we owned were kept in my parents' bedroom in a glass case. The case wasn't equipped with a lock, and the ammo was always inside. So one evening, my brother found his way into my parents' room, found the case, and on the highest shelf, my dad always kept a gun with ammo loaded in case there was an emergency. It was that particular gun that my brother found. According to the Children's Defense Fund, nearly 3 times more children and teens were injured by guns in 2010 than the number of U.S. soldiers wounded in action that year in Afghanistan. My 8-year-old brother was part of that statistic. That night, the whole family was downstairs watching TV when we heard the shot. That shot heard around the world. As you can imagine, my whole family was devastated by this event. My dad took it the hardest of all. He thought that it was his gun that took his own son's life. It was his gun that wasn't locked up like it should have been. For years after that day, November 2nd, the whole family shut down and mourned the anniversary of my brother's death. It wasn't until 3 years later that my family finally moved past the loss of their son and became advocates for protecting children and guns in the home. My parents aren't anti-gun. However, they now advocate for safer storage of guns and not to allow children near them. They promote lockable safes to keep guns in, educational programs for kids, and emphasize that guns are not toys to be dealt with lightly. November 2nd is now a day of advocacy for my family. Patricia Johnson, author of Coping with Death and Grief, says, "The death of a loved one is a shattering experience with far-reaching implications. As difficult as the loss may be, it is possible to move forward with hope for the future. You have all experienced some kind of loss in your life. My question to you is, how have you grown from it?" With continuous debate on gun laws, you should definitely educate yourself on the pros and cons of owning a gun. And because of these prevalent debates, children are being exposed to guns early on, and they depend on you to know what's right or wrong. While you may be sitting around in your dorm rooms now, many of you will one day have children of your own, and you'll want to protect them at all costs. Make sure your children know the dangers. If you own guns, be aware of where they are, and make sure they're always locked away. I can say, because of my story, I will probably never own a gun, much less shoot one. My brother lost his life because guns weren't properly locked away like they should have been. As I think back, the accident that happened to my brother really shaped who I am today when it comes to guns and gun safety. It was devastating. But I now fully understand the importance of keeping guns locked away and out of the hands of children. Julie Galov, Army veteran, shooting sports champion, hunter, and mom, says that you should set an example with your own careful, safe handling, and proper storage of guns. My brother was educated. He knew the risks, but you should always keep your guns locked away. Do whatever you can to help prevent your shot heard around the world.